everyone, TheSenpaiCode here. So for this episode, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make a pause menu and how to pause the game. So if I just jump into the game here, I'll show you what I mean. So what's going to happen is we have our camera script, so we're moving everything around. Everyone moves around, the sound's playing. All of a sudden, I hit the P key, which is the pause key that I have set, and it pauses the game. I can't move the camera around. I got the menu. The buttons at the moment don't do anything. I haven't set them for anything. We'll do that in a later episode. But if I hit P again, everything resumes. And even I can jump in the air, everything pauses. The character pauses in the air. The animations, everything stops. So let's go ahead and get started with this. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is actually go into our hierarchy, right click, and create empty game object. So for this game object, I'm going to actually name this as a game manager. So I'm just going to put game manager. So now we're going to need a script to actually put onto the game manager to actually pause the game. So if you've been following this episode, the series that I've been doing, you want to actually right click, create a C# script and name it game manager like I have here. You'll actually get a gear in these new Unity to actually state that this is actually a game manager script. I don't know why they did it. They just did it. So yeah, so if you see a gear there, don't be worried. If you're just here for the pause script, just right click and then create a C# script, name it paused, or you can actually add the code into your scripts that you have. So I will put the script into the description down below for the pause so that you guys can actually copy it and paste it into the right section. So let's go ahead and we'll drag and drop the code onto the game manager game object. So let's open up the script. So here's what we have. So don't be worried if you see stuff that we haven't went over yet. I'll cover those in a later episode. So for the pause script, what we have is we have a public transform, which is right here, and I've named it pause menu. And this will be where the GUI that we're about to create will actually get dragged and dropped into in the game manager game object itself, and that it will call for later on. And then we have a public transform for the camera because we actually do have our own camera script, and it's actually our camera moves differently than the other cameras. So I did a public transform for that. So let's go over the script itself. So in the void update, I put if input.getKeyDown. So whenever a key is pushed, and I put the key code, and that's the code that's going to call on what key. So the P key. So whenever the P key, which I have, is pushed, it will pause the game. So you can actually set it to whatever you want as the key code. So then I did paused, so it's going to call the pause function here. So I'm calling the function. So I actually created a public void paused, and I put if pause menu dot game object in hierarchy equals false, then pause menu dot game object dot set active. So whenever we push the key, the P key, it's going to set it to active, and it's also going to time.timescale equals 0, which is going to put the time for the game as 0. It's going to pause everything. It's going to freeze everything. If you do have an audio listener, if you do have a music playing in the background, you do have any kind of sound, what you can do is you can put audio listener dot paused equals true, and that will also pause the audio. So because we do have a free camera that looks around, I did put a camera.getComponent advanced camera, and that calls on the camera script that we have that's attached to our camera, and I put that as false too. So .enable equals false. So let's get into the else. If pause menu.game object set active as false, so when we push it again, it's going to set it to false. Time.timescale equals 1, so it's going to restart the time. It's going to unpause everything. Everything's going to be able to move again. And then we're going to also set the audio listener dot paused equals false, so that's going to restart the audio listener. And then we also have the camera dot get component from our camera script and equals that as true. The component being our camera script. And that's all there is for the script for the pause menu. That's all you have to actually do. So I put that here in our little script. So like I said, if you're here for the pause script itself, or you want to actually just copy and paste this into the right section, I'll put the script down in the description down below, so you can just do that. So let's get on to the GUI here. When you have the script on, oops, GameManager, there will actually be a public transform, and it will be the pause menu, and then the camera. You're just going to set the camera here. If you don't have that for your script, because you're just doing the pause menu, then you'll just take the GUI and you're going to put it here. So let's get into the GUI. So I'm going to set the view as 2D so that we can actually see the GUI as we create it. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to UI, and I'm going to create a canvas. So for the canvas, I'm going to name this panel pause menu. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to right click on this pause menu that we just created, and I'm going to go to where is it, image. So I'm going to zoom out using my scroll wheel. That's a bit too far, and then I'm going to zoom in. I'm actually going to take this image, I'm going to make this black, so I'm just going to go straight black, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a bit transparent by using the bottom here, and that's about good. So this is going to be the background for our menu here. So I'm going to actually resize this. I'm going to go 1200 by let's go 2600. And then it doesn't actually need to be repositioned. We can actually name this background just so that we know that it's the background. So next I'm going to click on this pause menu panel that we have. I'm going to now go ahead and put another image in. And this will actually be the menu itself. So I'm going to actually make this, I'm going to click here on the source image, and I'm going to actually make this a sprite, so UI sprite. What that did is, if you look at the outline, it's actually just making it a bit more, that line around it there. So I'm actually going to make the height 300, and the width I'm going to put as 200. And this will be our menu here. So I'm going to then go ahead and go to the panel again. I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to UI, and I'm going to put a text in here. And I'm just going to center that. So I'm going to go down here to alignment, and I'm just going to center everything. I'm going to actually make this 24 for the size, the font size here. And I'm going to go to the text, which is just up above it, and I'm going to call this the menu. You can call it pause menu, you can call this options, you can call this whatever you want. I'm just going to call this menu for now. I'm going to hit the name up here, and I'm just going to call this menu, just so that I know it's the menu. I'm going to then go to the position. I'm going to actually just move it up, so I'm going to go, I think it's going to be 120. So yeah, there we go, 120. I'm going to then go to the panel pause menu here again. I'm going to make a button. So where's button? Right there. And then I'm going to actually click on this arrow to the left of the button, and I'm going to go in the text, and I'm going to call this resume. And I'm actually going to resume here too, just so I know. So in the center here, because we changed the text, it's going to say resume. And I'm going to click on the button now itself, and I'm actually going to change the position of this, and I'm going to go 80, which will put it about right there. And it says button, but I want this to say the resume, just to keep everything so that I know what everything is, which button this is. This is the resume button, and you can keep doing that as many times. You can keep adding more buttons. You can put this as you can put a button down here that goes to the main menu options, so that they can change the sounds, the songs, music, all this other stuff. You can add however many buttons you want. Yeah, so that's all for buttons. I'm not going to teach you this episode on how to actually use the buttons. We'll do that in a later episode. It's pretty simple. You just create a script, and then you can make a void that will say clicked, and then inside the void you can put whatever command you want to unpause, or to go to the certain screen, or to call a certain script, stuff like that. But we'll get over that later on. So yeah, so that's all you need to do for the panel here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to click on the panel, and then I'm going to turn it off. And that way we can actually see when we actually get into the game. It's not always on. If you hit play with it on, it will actually pop up first, and then you'll have to actually turn it off, and it's actually going to be reversed. So now that you have your GameManager script, and you have the camera dragged into it, you just drag and drop this panel here, and I'll put this on here, the pause menu. And then we hit play, we hit pause, everything pauses, I can't move around, the button still works, this is the menu that we just created, and yeah, so that's how easy it is to create a pause menu. And so yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Next tutorial we'll go over maybe the end game or a few other things that I have actually created. So whenever we hit the spikes, we'll actually blink, and they will actually be immune to damage for 2 seconds or however long you want, and that will be the animation. So if we hit the spikes again now, we'll actually go into the game over. I haven't finished this script yet, so we're actually able to keep moving while it's in the game over. The music's still playing, but if we hit respawn, it'll actually respawn us. Something else that I have been working on is checkpoint. So there's checkpoints, so whenever we go through a checkpoint now, which I have one here, it's invisible, and then we end up dying. So boom, I take a hit, I'm at 50, boom, boom, I'm dead, respawn, I respawn to that checkpoint. So that's something else I've been working on. I've been working on a few different things that will go on to later on in the next episode. I want to start covering. I still need to finish all these scripts. They're incomplete at the moment. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you guys next episode.
The fire burns as the feelings start. I build a wall around my heart, but you're breaking it down.